Hello guys and welcome to markshrimptanks. I thought today would take a last tour of 2019 and have a look at all my tanks. Before we get started, right, and before we get into all of the tanks, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of you guys for all of your support this year. I've had like a ton of new subscribers, and you guys have helped me financially as well through Patreon and things like memberships and on the YouTube channel, which has been really appreciated. So I just want to say a big thank you for that. If you're wondering why my beard is green, by the way, it's because we did a charity stream yesterday and we raised a lot of money for a charity called Save the Children. You will see new tanks sponsored by Aqua as well, right? So all they're asking is I mention their name in the chat, in the channel, in the description, and we will get some new tanks, some new equipment. So thank you for that as well, Aqua. Thank you guys for an awesome year. Let's get on with the tank. This is the Blue Dream tank. They've had tons of babies. There's lots and lots of little shrimplet everywhere in this tank. This is one of my favourite tanks. It badly needs a clean though. Let's get rid of some of the algae soon. Although the shrimp like it, you can see lots of babies up there as well. So the plan is for this rack here is we're going to have another tank here. This will be probably the one sponsored from Aqua. And what we're going to do here, guys, is we will be culling the blue velvets out of this tank, because I can clearly see quite a few different types of blue in here. There's blue dreams, blue velvets, and then there's some colours in here as well, right? So we're going to take the blue velvets out of this tank, and they will be going where this mess is here, right? So the plan is, I already have the tank, I just haven't set it up. This is where the new Aqua 30 litre tank will be going. And all we have to do with that, guys, is remove some of the substrate, some of the plants, remove one of the filters, one of the sponge filters there, and put it in the new tank, and this will be good to go the same day. Okay, we could even do a water change from this tank into that tank while we're at it. Moving one tank up, this is the Opaula tank. The light is very dull on this for a reason, because these shrimp, I do believe, are very sensitive to light. This is a big part of why they hide so much. Right, I often see lots of them in amongst this rock here. You can see one of them in this tank. In total there is like 8 Opaula in here. We have a little sponge filter, and we have a soaching oxidator. This is something I added to the tank the other day. I just wanted to give them a little bit more pure oxygen and see if that helps them on their way a little bit, because these shrimp are terribly slow at getting started. I've had these shrimp for at least, what, a good 6 months, and it looks like nothing's happening, but when I do see them, the Opaula are very red, which is a good sign, which means they're healthy. Okay, let's get on to the next tank. Cardinal Sulawesi. This tank is doing really well. Actually, they've bred a few times in here. The only downside to this type of shrimp is they're not the type of shrimp where you could put food to the front and get them to come and be on show for the camera. You could probably just make out the little guys all over the place on the rocks, different bits. There's lots of little babies down the side here as well. This tank is a harder pH tank with quite a warm temperature. This one is 28.2 degrees. You can probably see them just a little bit better from this angle here, without me going out of focus too much. So all the crevices and crannies in here, this is where you'll find the Cardinal Sulawesi. So this tank is doing really well for the amount of time that I've had it running. Stark comparison compared to the Opaula tank. I thought this one would have been the harder, another one would have been the easier one. You see the little babies here. But there you go. Let's go over to my these are the blue tigers. These guys are doing really well as well. You can probably see the little babies in here. So these guys are now in a breeding colony. Some nice Marissa type snails in here. Actually, these are not Marissa, these are Spixie snails actually. Lots of bricks, lots of spirugina algae. I like this type of algae in here. It's not like a string algae, it's more of a coarser type algae. Lots of microfauna. Salvinia on the top. There you go. I have this little vase here I think I'll do something with soon, because it's actually grown quite well in there, but there's no light, no maintenance, nothing. Let's go over to here. Merry Christmas, one and all. These guys are my fancy shrimp, I'm going to call them. These are a mix of Tangerine Tigers and Crystal Reds, but you can probably see there's not really any Tangerine Tigers in here now, because I've hard culled this tank a lot recently to remove the Tangerine Tiger Michelins, because we have lots of them that are like almost like a red zebra pinto type shrimp in here now. And I've never had a red zebra pinto type shrimp in here, right? So all these guys are from our little crossbreeding project, right? So that's why it looks like there's not so many shrimp in this tank. Compared to previous videos in years gone by where I would have had thousands of crystal reds in here, this is how hard I've culled this to try and get as many of the Tangerine Tiger looking shrimp out of this tank. You can still see a few in there. I will get rid of them all eventually. In this little tub here we have little dwarf crayfish, which of course they will be getting a new tank as well. If I turn this off, let's see. You can just see at the end of that pipe there, you see the grey pipe? You can see one or two of them hanging out the pipe. There's lots of little babies on everything in there actually. These ones, they breed pretty much like cherry shrimp. These guys badly need a new tank as well. Aqua Earl, if you can help, thank you. That was dwarf crayfish. They were Texicana, by the way. This tank will be getting a slight overdone makeover, even if I can get the right word out, over this Christmas, New Year. The plan is, guys, we're going to raise the water volume in here up to about 90%, give it a bit more water volume, make it a bit more stable, and we are actually going to remove, I know it sounds like a lot, but we're going to remove all of the shrimp in this tank, and we are going to add in, I haven't decided yet if we're going to make this a rusty tiger tank or a blue bolt tank. I think a rusty tiger tank might be better for this because this substrate here is probably on its last legs, so a rusty tiger tank makes more sense because rusty tigers, I might have them in harder war. Okay, so that is what we'll do. I think we'll go with harder water for this tank, just so we get a little bit extra life at the substrate for another year or two. And this will become a rusty blue tiger tank. Orange eye will be as well. Speaking of orange eyes, these are blonde tigers in here. These are just culls that I've had from my other tank. These guys are always breeding in here. It's amazing, right? This is like one of the type of setups where, can you see them there? It's just like a mass dead center of shrimp. It's one of these tanks where you pay little no attention to. Maybe there's a lesson in there as well, because I pay little to no attention to this tank. I just feed it every other day. The water has a little tinge to it of colour because I put the leaves in there, some oak leaves, and they breed like crazy in here. So is there a lesson in there? Bare bottom, couple of leaves, tons of babies. Maybe you can see it from the side if your vision is mega good. Cherries. Very hard tank to film here, but you can see there's quite a lot of cherries in there on the bottom. All feeding away. This tank looks really beautiful, doesn't it? Zebra Pintos, they took a hit this year. They bred like crazy. I had easily a couple of hundred red Zebra Pintos in here. And then, I didn't ever see any dead bodies, but I can definitely tell there was a die-off in here. You could probably see the same, because there's just not the same amount of babies at all in here at all. I love it, guys. You know when you say a word twice in a sentence and it makes you sound really daft? Dafty. Some nice moss growing out of this water tank. These are Tangerine Tigers. Again, they are not actually breeding as much as they were either. Maybe it's the time of year. Spixie snail. I'm going to have to remember which tanks I put Spixie snails in and Marissa snails, because when they're small they look almost identical. Beautiful shrimp. Let's get on to the orange eye blue tigers. Some of these guys are rusties as well. They've had a ton of babies actually. Look at all the babies in the little dish. Don't they look beautiful? Right, so this is a tank we have to cull as well, because I can see lots of clear ones in here. There's quite a lot of rusties as well, so the rusty colours that come from this tank will go into the tank in the middle. I'll give them much more space to breed. Look at all the little babies. Isn't it cool? This tank hasn't changed at all. Same setup as I've always had in all my tanks. Pat mini filter from MacLeod. Every time I mention their name in a video they give me like €1,000. Aquail, aquail, aquail. Right, let's have a look into the cold tub. I've actually added a lot more oxygen to this tank, and I think it's paying off because I'm actually seeing that the crayfish in here have turned blue. Surprise, surprise. Although this image, you're probably not going to see anything. What good image that was there. Look at the on the bark. If you can get past the glare, look at all the shrimp. You see them? Let's see if we can just move this out the way. Get over there. Get over there. Can we see any of them? They're always in these big pipes here. This is like one of the hardest tanks I have to film. There's absolute bazillions of shrimp in there. You see them all on the pipes. Count them for me. Tell me in the chat how many there is. So this is maybe something we will have to do something with this tank, because I mean, my game is YouTube. I love doing shrimp keeping. I need you guys to see it. It's a really powerful pump, this, isn't it? Look how much air is coming through this. Let me quickly show you that pump, because I have that pump up here. Here, look how much air is coming out of it. Here, away over here, over here. You saw the Opaula tank. It's actually stretched that far across. It's away over there as well. And this was a $30 pump off eBay. Let me see, what's the name of it? Jebo P30. If you can get a pump like that off eBay or Amazon, I highly suggest you do. If I can actually find another one, I will buy it for this room for sure. Let's look around here. I haven't fed this tank for you guys today because I actually fed these guys last night on the stream. This tank has a little bit of a problem where I'm not seeing a lot of babies in this tank, so something is up with it. We have the mega oxidator in here. You can see that it works because you can see the big oxygen bubble underneath it forms. The little catalyst inside forces out the H2O2 in this container at 2 tiny holes, and then it sits there before it's dissolved into the water column. So this is a tank I'll have to look into today. Actually, I've actually been fiddling with it a little bit. I don't know if there's something in this tank that is adversely affecting the shrimp, but it's something that we need to work on. Let's go down to our little teeny blue lilies. This tank isn't doing that well either. I'm not sure what's up with it. I have noticed since I put in assassin snails in here, obviously the snails that were in here have disappeared a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's had a negative effect on the tank. Less snails. There doesn't seem to be as much microfauna. I mean, I put a piece of food in there. Normally this would be like covered with snails and absolutely covered with shrimp, but it's not. You can see that here. I mean, this food has been in here for at least 10-15 minutes. It's not a good sign, so that's something I have to change as well. Well, this is one of my best tanks. Needs no explanation. It does really. So we have blue steels in here, blue Missouri crowns, 2 lots of them. These guys are staying small though because there's so many of them in this tank. There's a lesson there for you guys. If you don't hard cull your tanks, move the shrimp around, selectively breed the best ones that you want in the tanks, this is what happens. Your shrimp stays small. And the proof in that is the next tank, right? We have in this tank with the blue steels, I can't actually see any breeding females at all in here, not one. They're all a little bit too small for the breeding age size. So what will happen with this tank is if I don't move out these shrimp, eventually they'll just get old and die, and then the tank will start to deteriorate the amount that we see, etc, etc, right? So we need to hard cull this tank. Proof is in the pudding, right? Because we hard culled the one next to it. This tank had more shrimp in it than the blue bolt tank here, the blue steel. And this tank had Missouri crowns, wine reds, ruby reds, etc, etc, right? But again, they were all staying small because there were so many of them in there, right? And on stream we decided that probably the best thing to do with this tank is have a goal, try and aim for that goal, and we have. This is exactly what we've done, right? So we are making this tank into a ruby red extreme tank. And none of these shrimp are ruby red extremes, but we have grades of shrimp in here that will lead us to ruby red extremes. Right, so guys, when I'm seeing the comparison between this tank and this tank, the shrimp in this tank were much smaller than this tank, right? So let's have a look. You see the difference in the size of the shrimp? We hard culled this tank down to 8 tiny little babies. And they've all grown up and they're all big. Right, and we also have 3 buried females in here. There's one of them there. One of them there. I think they're all here actually. I think that's the 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if any of the rest of them are females. But it has been almost 3 weeks since I saw that these guys were buried, so fingers crossed within the next week. It will be the next week that these guys have the babies. Some of them will have the babies and then we can start to see if we get any ruby red extremes, right? So this is a ruby red here. It's basically a ruby red is a red version of a King Kong. King Kong's a black. So this is a red King Kong. One at the back's very nice. You see it there? You can tell I love these shrimp. So it was very, very good of us to do this, where we hard cull this tank down to something where we're going to have an extremely gorgeous looking shrimp that is way, way, way more expensive as well than just your plain wine red pandas, that type of thing. Alright, you want to see the galaxies, or soon to be galaxies? Again, this tank has the same issue as the other tank, the blue ones on this side. Not so severe because there isn't as much shrimp in this tank. These guys have been hard culled quite a few times as well, right? And our goal with these is we have galaxy genetics in here, but we also have a ton of shrimp that are nothing like a galaxy. The one here that's just black, as an example. There's some that are blue steels, because to get our galaxy, we actually crossed a blue steel with a black zebra pinto, right? And it gives you the odd one that has galaxy markings in the face, right? This is the way I was told to make galaxies, and it has worked. We have quite a lot of them. One of the bigger girls here is a galaxy. Again, this tank needs hard culled. You seeing the rhythm and the way things should be going in your shrimp room, guys? Hard culling seems to be the most successful way to get the shrimp that you want in your tanks. Let's move on to the last tank on the bottom. This one's had a mega change since the last time you saw it. Hamburg Matten filter is gone. I do believe the Hamburg Matten filters in a neocaridina type tank, they hold in too much junk, right? And when Hamburg Matten filters, when they hold in a lot of rotting waste, right, it adds organics to the tank, right? And organics are acidic in nature, right? So what's happening when you have all the acidic material sitting in there, it will be eating away and etching away at your KH values. Of course that will affect your pH, all that kind of stuff. Santa's still in there from yesterday. We did a Christmas stream. You can see the painted fire reds. Painted fire reds are beautiful in this tank. I also made the decision to take out my little Texicana crayfish out of this tank because they were eating the painted fire reds. I saw it first hand a few times them doing this, right? So that's why the Texicanas are in that tub. Of course they'll have to get a new tank. Aquael. Big giant Marissa snails. Aren't these guys gorgeous? These Marissa snails are, this one's probably about 4 centimeters. They get a little bit bigger than this. I think they go up to about 6 or 7 centimeters. This one is about 4 as well. The one at the back there is really large actually. This one's about 5 centimeters. I think it's just a little bit smaller than their full size. Now what's good as well is, I just noticed in the last couple of days, like here, let me see if you can see, there's a little snail in the middle. It's a baby Marissa snail, so they've had babies in here too. But doesn't it look much better, guys, that you can see everything in the tank? I also removed all of the frog bit because the Marissa snails were just destroying it anyway. Right, so I've removed the frog bit. We've added some little bit more water flow with the Aquael Pat Mini filters here, and you can see I honestly can't see a piece of duckweed here. There's like the odd one piece But I haven't removed duckweed from this tank for weeks. Right, so there's another lesson probably. Duckweed I don't think likes faster moving water either. But the tank is looking good, it's looking very clear. Lots of plants. Subwasser tongue does just okay in this tank. I definitely wouldn't get subwasser tongue for a harder water tank, guys. It thrives in soft water. Bits of philandra. This is stuff that you haven't seen at all because when I put this boost of philandra in the tank, it soon became covered in tons of string algae, and I actually didn't clean it and it looked a right mess. Then we had tons of floating plants, string algae died off, and the tank is now looking pretty nice. Pretty nice. Fingers crossed this is going to be an extra special tank as well, because I like to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of painted fire reds. This tank is recovering from having the dwarf crayfish in here, because the dwarf crayfish, as I said, they do predate on cherries. So if you have them mixed and you wonder why you don't have an awful lot of neocaridina or whatever kind of shrimp you have with your Texarkana or any other dwarf crayfish for that matter, I would imagine that they would all eat small shrimp. That is why. Right, so they do much better. Neocaridina do much better in tanks where they're not mixed with dwarf crayfish. Looking good. Look at that beautiful big snail. Okay guys, from this massively green bearded boy, massively green bearded, maybe you can call it a Sawasa beard, something like that. I just want to thank you all for your support this year. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and I want you to have a fantastic New Year as well. Let me know in the comment section below what your plans are for your new year, what you have planned going forward into next year as well. Mine could be possibly new house, more tanks, better deals with Aquael. It's looking good. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next one. Happy shrimp keeping. Boom!